From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio, all that jazz. Couple different guests today. Jeffrey Wright making his weekly appearance with us. Mr. McCready over here gets a little worked up on some NCAA basketball news. We're also going to talk to Gary Parrish today of CBS Sports, Memphis Radio, and the like, as also a little basketball topic going on with the NCAA and courthouses and whatnot. Here in local news, came out yesterday that Matt Ball has been reassigned, or is going to be reassigned in the athletic department. Read into that, he will be no longer an employee at some point that state laws allowed. And Julie Owen taking over and that spot as the senior associate AD for compliance for Ole Miss. We'll get into that a little bit. Coverage up of that, rebelgrove.com. I tried to explain last night what that means for Ole Miss moving forward with a few different points on that, kind of a Cliff Notes version. So you can read that at rebelgrove.com. Neal's mailbag is from yesterday. Got some Matt Luke video up. Got a lot, and we'll have more later in the day. In lieu of the normal 3 and out, that was going to be my number one thought, but I wanted to go ahead and get it up, so you'll get kind of 2 and 3 and some other content later in the day. Kind of switching it up for the week because of news coming up last night. But nonetheless, check all those things out at rebelgrove.com. Again, a reminder, a 1-week hiatus from Funky's tonight. Well, no show tonight. Back next week, Thursday at 5:30 prior to Arkansas. Head on over to Funky's this weekend. They'll have the watch party at 3 o'clock if you're not going to the game, which I don't think a lot of you are. So you can head to the square. They'll have specials. They'll have discounts on red and blue daiquiris and all that kind of stuff there at Funky's on the Oxford Square. Probably have that mac and cheese pizza back in town and more. Plus, remember to sign up for the Exxon Mobile Rewards. You save a lot of points and a lot of money over the first 30 days, and you just keep saving after that. That and the Speed Pass Plus app gets you going with all Blue Sky locations and the Oxford Exxon here in Oxford and throughout Mississippi. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are. Clark Ford is in Amory. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call the number, ask for Corey Clark, tell Corey what Ford you're looking for, and he'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's that simple. It's right to the bottom line. No haggling. Here's the thing you need to know. These are not just words. I've done this. I know people who have done this. Literally, they call and say, hey, here's kind of what I'm looking for, or here's specifically what I'm looking for. What am I looking at? And he'll send you some quotes. It's right to the bottom line. It might not be the number you want. It might be better, it might be worse, whatever, but it gives you something to go on. It lets you make a decision. It gives you something if you want to shop it. You're not going to get a better deal, but if that gives you peace of mind, then by all means. And then what you get is great service. It's a great car buying experience. It's great service after the sale. I've said this, Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. He'll prove it to you. And if you wonder what that means, deal with Corey for a little while and you'll start to understand it. 662-257-1900. Mention that you heard about Corey on the podcast, any of our family of podcasts. I promise we're going to catch up on those here in the next week or so. Mention any of those, $500 off the bottom line from Clark Ford and Amory.
Also up yesterday, snap counts and player grades from LSU, kind of the good and bad of that. Every Ole Miss offensive lineman graded out at least, I think, 83 in pass protection. All the starters were at 85 or higher. And then on the bad side, defensively, 22 missed tackles, leading to 12 different players who had at least 30 snaps, grading out 40 or below in the tackling subcategory. So that and more up at rebelgrove.com. We'll go to Jeffrey in a little bit. We'll kick it off with news from yesterday. Again, Ross Bjork sends out an email to the athletic department sometime yesterday that Matt Ball is no longer the head of the compliance office. Again, he's going to be reassigned. I don't know what that is, and I mean, let's be real here. Let's be logical. He's not going to make any compliance decisions moving forward, and this is the first step in his employment no longer being at Ole Miss. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. So there's that. Julie Owen was at Oklahoma at the same time as Matt Ball, has been at Ole Miss since 2011. Talked to multiple people in the athletic department, including some coaches last night, who think very highly of her. Because, look, I wrote this, and the head of compliance and really the compliance office in general, it's all about not letting you step on some grenade that's going to cause huge problems, but while also working the system to get up to the line to pull off whatever you were trying to pull off and be successful. I mean, compliance can assist coaches, or they can be a complete hindrance in every single way, and you got to find that happy ground in that middle in this department. I mean, it is the ultimate job of risk management from a compliance and athletic staff standpoint.
Oh, it absolutely is. People, you can't just be
Wild, Wild West.
No, and cover. Hey, here's how we cover that up, and here's how we cover that up.
But
but okay.
When do I just turn my head a little bit? When do I do some different things?
You can't run it. You can't
just. And now look, the next compliance meeting will be my first. It never felt like Matt realized he was in the SEC. Hey, there's just a little different deal here.
Well, he's not the only person at Ole Miss that sometimes hops on the Ole Miss high horse of we're going to do it differently.
Yeah.
There are people at Ole Miss in very high places, people in charge of recruiting, for example, who are stupid enough, and there's no other word for it. Sometimes you can be so smart you're stupid, who are stupid enough to actually tell people we kind of want to be like Vanderbilt. Well, guess what?
He didn't mean athletic, by the way.
No, he meant academically. I'm not talking about
you said recruiting.
Okay, but I mean academic recruiting.
Yeah.
There are people that say, well, we kind of want to be like Vanderbilt. Well, guess what? I kind of want to look like, what's the dude?
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, I kind of want to look like Ryan Gosling. I do. I kind of want to play baseball like
Neil really wants Michael B. Jordan's body.
I really do. I want to be able to play baseball like Christian Yelich. I do. I want those things. I want those things. I do. I want those things. That's what I want, Chase. I want it. What I want to look like Ryan Gosling, damn it. Not realistic.
No.
You're in Mississippi. I live in Mississippi. I love Mississippi. I've been here a long time. I know I make fun of it sometimes, but you can make fun of something when it's yours. It's kind of that deal of, I can say something bad about my mama, but if you say something bad about my mama, I'm going to punch you in the teeth.
Yeah.
So I can say this about Mississippi. It's never going to be Vanderbilt. It just ain't going to happen. Never. And you know me, I'm not a never person.
Yeah.
Never. Sometimes got to get real with yourself. And you're in the SEC, you want to win. If you really want to win in the SEC, if that's the goal, is to win, you've got to be willing, as you said, to do some risk management. You've got to be willing to play the game. Now, in defense of Matt Ball and people over there, and I've been critical, but let me say this also. There does come on the coaching staff that you're working with to be smart.
Of course.
And Ole Miss was not smart. Hugh Freeze, Barney Farrar, those people, they were not smart about the way they did business.
No, that stuff should have never gotten to compliance. Ever.
And so, frankly,
they put compliance in a really hard spot.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I always say, a sign of maturity is the ability to look at something from somebody else's perspective. Draft night, for example, people are critical of what Ole Miss did or didn't do or whatnot. If you're Matt Ball and the people in compliance as draft night unfolds, turning a blind eye at that point was not an option. So there's a lot of blame here, and when people want to look for one or two scapegoats, you're really missing the boat. There was a lot of sloppiness. And when people go, well, other programs cheat, they do. They absolutely do. In fact, most of the programs that you at Ole Miss are trying to chase are cheating much more than you've ever cheated because they have more resources. But, and this is critical, and a lot of fans don't like this, the people at the top have plausible deniability, and the organization,
it never even gets anywhere near compliance. It doesn't even matter to compliance.
The network that is used to do it is smart, sophisticated, and layered.
Layered.
And that's reality. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry.
Compliance having anything to do with any of these decisions is your first problem because it shouldn't even be a factor in this.
When texts from boosters about paying kids come into the Manning Center to a coach's phone, at that point, I'm sorry, I don't blame compliance. That's your stupidity.
The other thing coming out yesterday, Ole Miss creating, we knew this. We saw the job go up on olemiss.edu/jobs or whatever it is about a month and a half ago, I guess, maybe 2 months ago. There's basically an athletic general counsel position. It is going to be a legal position that on the more daily or whatever you want to say handles a lot of issues that typically Ole Miss athletics would have to kind of wait for somebody from general counsel, and it's just going to make it more efficient. They're going to deal with contracts. They're going to deal with service agreements, everything along those lines that are a little more monotonous, and then they're also going to deal with some big-picture compliance things. So it's a good move. It's something that was in the works prior to, I think Erica McKinney's her name, the new general counsel, who was the previous COO of the National Basketball Players Association. It just kind of lets her handle some things. It lets them handle some things. It's an all-around good move. So that person's going to be over here, and then you'll have, at least right now, and I assume for the foreseeable future, Julie heading up compliance, whatever's below her, and then again, Matt is going to be reassigned. Ross Bjork yesterday did not comment on what that reassignment is, and there's probably even a decent chance that that's not even accepted. But it's not like they're just switching spots on the totem pole. It's not some deal where he's going to have some job responsibility in compliance at this point. That's just not how it works. And if you have any knowledge of state employees and universities, sometimes it takes a bit of a path to remove someone, because it's not as simple usually as just, hey, pack up your desk. So we'll see where it goes, but it's pretty obvious where this thing is headed as it's moved forward. Ole Miss does not have the appeal back from the NCAA. I think this was made probably before that, so you wouldn't have any more cloudiness. You just go ahead and make your decision. You make your changes prior to getting that back, for better or for worse. They still expect it at any time, but at this point it is not back. And, we've said this for a while. Neil wrote about it yesterday. I wrote about it yesterday. At the end of the day, this is not changing the needle for a couple different reasons. Number one, all the damage has been done. I mean, if you're Ole Miss, you hope you never have to hear the word compliance again for the next decade. I hope I don't have to write it again. I'm tired of it. So in some ways, it's kind of a moot point from a fan base standpoint, and the center of all this remains Jeffrey Vitter. I mean, he is the only member of this administration that is going to change the malaise and the tone of the school at this point. I mean,
by stepping down or resigning.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, and now I'll be honest here. I mean, we kind of bash on Vitter a lot. A lot of this isn't his fault, but when you're the head and it has been thrust upon you. When it's been thrust on you, it is what it is. And right now, Ole Miss is dealing with a dip in enrollment. They are dealing with, I think I wrote it as donor volatility last night, but not the same ability to raise money that they have in the past, and that means academically, athletically, whatever. I'm not talking about one segment here. And every single month, it's a university who goes, hey, what happened at the board meeting this month? And when you're so focused on the IHL making or not making a decision about your leadership, the university's hostage. And that's where this thing is right now. They meet again October the 18th, I think. The November 15th meeting is what kind of stuck out to me, and I don't know if this means anything or not. I hear a lot, but I'm not ready to publicly say anything. That thing was supposed to be on the campus at Ole Miss. On the schedule, I've looked at it for weeks. The November meeting said University of Mississippi beside it.
Okay.
And within the last 3 or 4 days, it no longer does. It says boardroom in Jackson now. So it's been taken off.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's a good question.
What could it mean?
Well, I mean, if you're the guy who thinks something's going to happen with Vitter,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm just talking here. But I've had this conversation with a lot of people.
I know you have.
Maybe optically you don't want to go, hey, let's talk about the chancellor on his campus. Let's move to Jackson. If that's when we think we might talk about it in some way. And I don't know what that way is, but whatever that way is, if there's something Vitter related, maybe we just don't want to do it there. Let's go to Jackson, get off his turf, and do it in a more neutral location.
Do you agree with my assessment of this? And if you don't, please tell me, because you're much closer to it than I am. You've talked to more people about it than I have. You're more intellectually invested in it than I am.
Okay.
And maybe this is too simple, but if you compare the University of Mississippi to a say, a Fortune 500 company.
Okay.
Shareholders are unhappy.
Very.
Profits are down.
It's fair.
Long-term vision right now is cloudy and or negative.
It's fair.
Some of the stockholders are getting antsy and starting to talk about getting out, going to not necessarily a different company, but just getting out.
Mm-hmm.
In that scenario, a Fortune 500 company would do one of two things, in my opinion. It would either make a change at the top, saying, hey, we're going to chart a new course, or the person who's at the top would come out and address in a shareholders meeting, here's what's happened. I understand why you're frustrated. I understand why you're not happy, and I know the bottom line's not good. Here's what I'm doing to fix it. And at the end of that meeting, they would either give him a public vote of confidence to help get that kicked off, or they'd say, no, Mr. Smith.
Too late.
It's too late. You got to go. We got to get Mr. Jones in here, or Miss Jones in here. I want to be politically correct. We got to get Miss Jones in here, and we got to get going again, because we got competition in our field, and the stock can't fall right here, because it just can't. We got to get stocks back up, got to get profits back up, got to get morale back up, got to do these things. And no, Mr. Smith, you got to go. Miss Jones is coming in. Or, you know what, Mr. Smith, that's what I wanted to hear. And I tell you what, do that. We're going to extend you for 2 years. We're going to come out with this public statement about how we believe in Mr. Smith. And here we go at Fortune 500 Company X, back down the path to profitability and happiness and sustainability. Let's go get it. Rah, rah, sis, boom, bah. Here we go. And I think Ole Miss has to do one of those two things.
Instead, it's deathly quiet, and every single day brings more frustration with donors and the public and the fan base and everything else.
But do you agree with me? You tell me, because I reported it.
Yeah.
You're not going to hurt my feelings. You and I,
okay.
Sometimes we disagree. We believe it or not, we don't march in lockstep. I reported you were on your vacation in Florida, and I reported it from the SEC tournament.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
This was, I believe, it was the Saturday afternoon. Ole Miss had just defeated Texas A&M or Auburn.
I don't know.
One of the other.
One of them.
One of them. One of the other.
It wasn't Auburn, because that was the first night. But
so
anyway.
It was A&M.
Yeah.
They just beaten A&M in the semifinal game.
It was A&M in the semifinals.
And about the fourth inning of that game, I started working on a story that I was working on about Vitter had been informed, not officially, but told, no doubt told.
Yeah, not officially to this point.
No, but had been told that his contract would not be renewed.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave the details of his contract.
Yeah.
To your knowledge, this is not putting you on the spot.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
To your knowledge, is that reporting accurate?
To my knowledge, yeah, I've heard the same thing for a long time. The frustration from a lot of people is that it appears that things are kicked down the road from a public acknowledgement of anything with this matter. We're just talking here. There was a lot of smoke and a lot of rumors that was a possibility in the last 60 days, including the last meeting, and then some of the Ed Meek stuff happened and things went sideways there, which is fraught with irony, frankly. But anyway,
it's shocking. But Vitter came out with actually it was one of his better moments. Came out with this is not what we're about. It won't be tolerated kind of a deal. And so announcing in the immediate aftermath of that.
And see, here's a problem that Ole Miss has a little bit, is that a lot of the donors that are mad at Vitter, that didn't even help with them because
they're big Ed Meek guys.
They're either buddies with Meek, or they saw it as, hey, you tried to get a public support instead of just calling the guy first. Let's handle our business behind closed doors, then let's release a statement together.
Which is fair.
That's in the best PR move. They kind of said, hey, you're just looking for a quick little bump here. That's not working.
Well, that's fair.
I don't, it's not a secret that I don't think Ed's real tight with Vitter. That's the funny part of all this a little bit, but.
And there's a lot of people.
And now, look, there's going to be some people probably in some high places go, no, that's not right. We were, not we, but that board was never discussing this. Okay. Fair enough. We're just talking about what's going on.
And before anybody thinks this is all about wins and losses on a football field or on a basketball court, there are a lot of people. Even I know some of these people, and I have one, literally, I'm not being sarcastic here, 1/100th the Ole Miss connection that you have. I know a lot of people that are very unhappy with Ole Miss and with Vitter, and it has absolutely nothing to do with athletics.
No, the athletics things, the football program not performing to where it's performed in recent years, and the NCAA thing just adds to it. It's another heap of snow on the blizzard is all that is. But no, we're not talking really even about athletics right now. We're talking about enrollment. We're talking about recruiting. We're talking about just the path the university is on that they're very, very unhappy with right now. They feel a slip going on from a university standpoint as a whole that at the end of the day, Vitter's in charge of. I mean, it's no secret that, from a donor relation standpoint, he has not been a success, and that's, there's a lot to a chancellor job, but that's a big part of it. You're the ultimate spokesperson and head of going out and rallying the troops.
You're the fundraiser in chief.
Yeah, you're the fundraiser in chief. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it just hasn't worked. That part has not worked so far during his tenure. I know the end was brutally ugly, but a lot of times Dan Jones did a pretty good job with that. I mean, Robert Kayette was fantastic at that part.
Sure.
Of it. And it's been a mess. You've got some really public national people that have wanted this job in the past. You see what they've done well in some different places, and just the overall compare and contrast is a pretty ugly spot for Ole Miss right now. But alas, we move on and see where it goes from here. But anyway, that was that part of this. Again, I wrote about a little bit of it last night. We'll continue to talk about it day after day after day as it moves forward. But Ole Miss definitely needs a cleansing right now. There's no doubt about that. That's number 3 now of people involved with this NCAA thing that are no longer in their positions between Lee Tyner, Hugh Freeze, and Matt Ball. So, podcast brought to you in part by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and processing in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting and understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float down option. Give Jason a call at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
The Ole Miss volleyball team returns home Sunday, 1:30. They face the LSU Tigers. As always, admission is free at the Gillum Center. The Ole Miss soccer team also returns home on Sunday. They take on Arkansas at 2 p.m. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com. The Ole Miss football team, as you may have heard, returns to the Vault on Saturday. For homecoming, they take on Louisiana Monroe. Tickets can be purchased by visiting OleMissTix.com. And Square Jam returns for 2018. Join the Ole Miss Hoops teams for a night on the Square on October the 19th, 6:15 p.m. For more information, visit OleMissSports.com. My post-game column from the Ole Miss ULM game and this podcast are sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is based in Madison, Mississippi, but it represents clients in 24 states, has advisors in 3 states. Founded in 1997, Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, and decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. Regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed, year-by-year financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners don't do that. They put you in a box. It's a pre-made box. They figure out where you fit. At Pinnacle Trust, a box is built for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. Also, this podcast brought to you by the Westin Jackson. Gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro inside the Westin Jackson, sip on a creative craft cocktail, or enjoy their curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Sunday brunch. Chef Caden's mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships, so gather at Estelle tonight.
Podcast also brought to you by Tyson Drugs. TysonDrugs.com is the website. They've got a great app, and they're located in downtown Holly Springs, 662-252-2321. Whether it's that sildenafil or something else, they deliver wherever you are, including now in Oxford with G&M Pharmacy on South Lamar, where they deliver local in the Oxford area and have compliance packaging to make sure you take the medicine when it's prescribed, making it easy and efficient for you. Again, TysonDrugs.com. Now, Jeffrey Wright on the Oxford Exxon podcast. Jeffrey, good morning and welcome. Going to get to a few current topics, but my podcast, Neil's podcast too, I can talk about whatever I want. You mentioned to me a couple days ago in text, maybe yesterday, you're kind of out on golf right now, out on the Ryder Cup. What's the feelings after we completely peed down our leg last week?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not just like the loss that really. I mean, I can take losing. Like, I mean, for God's sakes, if every loss in the Ryder Cup made me out on golf, I would never have been in on golf. I mean, so it's mainly just it revealed. I like to think that these types of events kind of reveal a little character, and it revealed that, man, there's a lot of, they're all just kind of selfish pricks, and by the way, I would also like a public apology from everyone on that stupid message board that came at me when I said Justine Reed was insane and that Patrick Reed is not a good dude. So all of you owe me an apology because, like, it is absurd when he was talking about leave your ego at the door, acting like he's some hero, when everything he was saying is about his ego. Like,
how odd is it, though, when I look at all this, I'm more pissed off at Spieth than him?
Well, because you kind of had some expectation from Spieth that he wouldn't just be a 13-year-old, like, crybaby. Like, basically
you look
Spieth
back,
didn't
though,
want...
Spieth has a lot of, I'm going to go call the principal on you.
Yeah, Spieth was basically saying, like, I don't want to sit next to Patrick Reed anymore. So instead of telling Patrick Reed he didn't want to sit next to him anymore, he went and told the principal. Like, there's an element of that. I will also say, though, in fairness to Spieth, it does appear that the whole reason they got paired together in the first place is Spieth was basically the one like, all right, no one wants to play with him. I'll play with him. We're kind of the same age, whatever. I'll play with him.
You do wonder if Jordan goes back and goes, God, at Glen Eagles, if we'd just gotten our tail kicked for a couple days, this wouldn't be a problem right now.
This is the other thing that's, like, remarkable about it. Patrick Reed's talking about how he's a generational Ryder Cupper. And, okay, buddy, if you're some generational Ryder Cupper, you should be able to win with anyone. And by the way, it's not like they gave him – it's not like they said, all right, Patrick, go play with Bubba, which they should have done. They gave him the greatest player of all time, Tiger Woods. That's who he got to play with. And – then he had the audacity to tell people, well, Tiger apologized to me for losing. You shot 85 on your own ball, dip. Oh, God. I don't know. It's just, they're all just, it's when you realize, like, they talked about, they want to win these for a long time. No, they don't. They still, at the end of the day, they care about their brand. They care about, like, that's their whole deal. The whole reason why Patrick Reed was so pissed, other than he sucked, his brand was Captain America. His brand is winning Ryder Cup matches. And he was getting obliterated. And then he got benched. And he should have been benched.
Yeah, for a guy that was already hated anyway with all the Ryder Cup stuff he had been able to accomplish, now he's going to be really hated. Like, it went even more in the tank. And I tell you, I don't know the reasoning behind all this, but I watched this. And other than nationality, the European team is much more likable. I like those dudes better.
No, it's what I realized the other day. It's like I'm not becoming a turncoat. Like, I'm not going over to Team Europe. I'm just out on Team America because, like, I'm out on Team USA. Like, we're just not that likable, like, at all.
Let me ask this question for those of us that are more interested in some of the off-the-course stuff than we are the on-course stuff.
Yes, the stuff that's actually interesting.
How many of the European players are sleeping with each other's girlfriends and wives as opposed to the American players?
Well, the thing is, on a lot of those Euro guys got married before they got, like, famous. And it appears that on the European tour, there's not the groupie scene that there is on the PGA Tour. You don't have quite the cleat chasing scene. So it's significantly less. I mean, from all accounts, it's kind of an open secret on the PGA Tour that it's just kind of wife swap.
But it appears that it's impacting. It appears that it's impacting relationships, right? I mean, that guys can't.
It also appears that there's an unwritten. There's some, just like in baseball, there are some unwritten rules. It appears that there have been some unwritten rules that have been violated, and that is causing some issues. The thing though is with Koepka and DJ, you could tell me just about anything, and I'd believe it.
They are very Tyson zone at this point. Okay,
they're very
fine.
and they're also colossal meatheads.
So
Like,
what are the
each
unwritten
guy-
rules that have been violated?
That's very unclear. All we know is Paulina's at the center of this. Well, the
I'm
other
shocked.
thing is, like, so apparently Paulina got pissed at Dustin because Dustin was running around at Sherwood out in just north of LA with some golf socialite. Yes, that's the case in point, Neil. America has golf socialites. There's not golf socialites over in Europe. Like that's period, like, in the story. But apparently she got upset about that. I don't think it's the fact that DJ's getting some side action with a golf socialite. I think it's the fact that the girl in question was older than Paulina by about 10 years and also not as attractive. I think Paulina has like a let bygones be bygones, but by God, you're not getting with someone that's older, and you're not going to embarrass me like that.
So to pay him back for the embarrassment, she slept with Koepka? Is that the allegation?
That seems fair.
Yeah, it seems at least logical as to what we've learned at
That
this
seems
point.
to be, I mean, that's speculation, but that also, I think it's like educated speculation. That seems to be very much, if you're out there connecting some dots, that doesn't seem to be unlikely.
So it's sort of like that scene in Major League, right, where Roger Doran's wife sees him
Ricky Vaughn.
in the clubhouse, and so she hooks up with Ricky Vaughn the night before the big game, and then makes sure that Roger knows about it before he leaves for the big game, and then it's the tension throughout. I mean, the Indians made it work. The Americans at Ryder Cup, they did not.
Well, the problem is that's the difference between that Indians team and the American team. That Indians team was a ragtag bunch. Other than Dorn, there was not really anyone worried about a brand. It was a bunch of people that should have been cut from every major league team. So therefore, they kind of had a common goal. That's what you realize with American golf. Everything is so about, like, the money has gotten so absurd that they never grew up caring about the Ryder Cup. Let's get real. They grew up caring about winning majors and getting rich. And most of the Europeans, like, that's kind of what they grew up with. Like, that Ryder Cup was their tour's opportunity to show that they belong. And it was ingrained in them that this is your stage. And they treat it like that. I mean, they don't care who they play with. And we've got guys that are crying about who they've got to play a freaking 18-hole golf match with.
We make months of conversation about having to switch to a different brand of ball for 18 holes. I mean, it's just so stupid.
Have you ever heard the Euros? Have you ever heard?
No.
Like the only people you hear about, well, the ball really matters. It's all from us.
Yeah, Justin Rose didn't go, hey, Hendrick's ball's different. Sorry, can't do it.
We are such a colossal group of pussies. Like, it's just unbelievable. And it's just really, it's soured me. And then on top of that, has American golf ever been exposed from the course setup? The PGA Tour. The PGA Tour got so exposed. All they did was grow some rough up and mow it back to the tee. And our guys looked like they were on a foreign planet playing a game they had never been familiar with.
Should we have okay, would we have won had we taken other players, or it's simply just about we sucked?
I think
had we taken
exposed.
Brian Harmon and Kevin Kisner and Kyle Stanley, did we win the Ryder Cup?
I just think we got exposed. I think
they'd have been just as soft as the other dudes.
Okay.
Yeah,
if there was a purse involved, would we win the Ryder Cup?
All right.
I don't think so, because I think our style of golf got completely exposed. This whole bomb and gouge, and it just got exposed.
All right, I'm going to switch gears a minute because it's a topic that I think more people will find somewhat interesting, and it's a little bit live as it's happening to me.
All right.
Yesterday on the message board, we're going to talk to Gary Parrish later in the show about the court case involving Adidas and Under Armour and college basketball and all that stuff, right? And so yesterday, a bunch of names started to drop. One of the names that dropped was Lamar Peters at Mississippi State. One of the names that did not drop, but it came up on our message board, is Malik Newman. We all remember Malik's recruitment.
Yes.
And one of our posters, and I never know how to pronounce it. He's a basketball sort of centric poster. EOC, I guess. EOSII. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Really good message boarder, good member of the community, very informed on basketball. He made a post about Peters, and he said pittance, meaning it what Peters got was a quote pittance compared to what Malik got, and then he says Kegler too, and I posted underneath there. I guess I quoted the post and said. Responded to it, and I said Malik got big bucks. This is what blows me away, guys. Bless you. There's a court case going on where stuff is getting out in court, where a guy is fighting for his freedom, and his defense is, yeah, of course these guys got paid, but I didn't violate. Violating NCAA rules is not violating the law. That's his defense. Right. This guy, hind leg, how he avoided one of the 300 muted Mississippi State fans, I don't know. Hind leg says to me on Twitter. Hind leg, okay. Yes. The state people are weird with the dog thing. I've never been around more people. It's like dog, and dog things. It's bizarre. Always make fun of Texas A&M the cult, and to some degree Auburn the cult. There are times that I wonder if part of Mississippi State is cult.
No, State is a cult. It's State and A&M are the same thing. It's just one has $10 billion.
His message, his tweet at me is message board post from your, and he does the fan thing. Average, disinterested, not a fan, professional journalist who believes in staying in your lane. He says, and then another one comes back, and this more dog brag.
Repeat that again. That was too stupid for me to understand.
Yeah, message board post. He takes a picture of it because they're all over the site. Message board post from your average, disinterested, not a fan, professional journalist who believes in staying in your lane. I don't think me saying that Malik Newman got paid is revelatory of fandom.
No, if anything, it's revelatory of journalism. Like, that's actual news.
And so the guy comes back, and another guy comes back, more dog Brad at Bragg Dog. Well, Neal McCready should be forced to apologize to Malik by rivals. Here's my question. It's not about...
Oh, that's their big deal. That's their deal. Don't they want public apologies for Leo, too?
Yeah. Here's my thing. Are there actually people out there, Chase, Jeffrey, are there actually people out there, I don't care what they're saying publicly, who actually believe that elite college basketball players are not getting paid?
Yeah, there are people.
Yeah, I think it's, I will say this. I think it's becoming lesser and lesser. I don't think there's anyone that's roughly my age that believes that college athletics is clean. In fact, we actually had this conversation at the bachelor party last week. There's like 20 of us, and we're all from various parts of the country. And someone threw out the question, does anyone here believe that anyone's clean in college football or college basketball? And everyone unanimously said no. And that included Pepperdine. So I don't know, but I do think there is still that segment. There's still that segment of, I don't know if it's that they believe that Mississippi State is clean. They're more convinced that they have to cheat because Ole Miss cheats. Like, that's their kind of deal. Like, they're victims in this. If it weren't for dirty old Ole Miss, State would never have to do it.
They're just leveling the playing field is all.
Correct. And which is, by the way, I think that's also Gatto's defense.
Well, it absolutely is Gatto's defense. It was, look, my responsibility was to get these players.
Yes.
My
That was
response.
my job. Yes.
I mean, he basically look. Here's the thing. I don't know what a jury's going to do. I don't know. Maybe you guys have an opinion, and if you do, I'm all ears. I don't know what a jury will do. But what the guy is saying so far, his defense, guys, is the truth.
His defense is very compelling. His defense is, for this to be fraud, I must have committed fraud against an innocent victim. What his defense is, the United States government has said the victim was the universities, to which he laughed at, to which we laugh at, because as he pointed out, all I was doing for those poor innocent universities was making them money. That they were complicit in.
Take a break in our talk with Jeffrey to tell you the podcast is also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Check them out at visitoxfordms.com/events. They want to let you know that they are double-decker bus tours, 2 p.m. Friday before every Ole Miss home football game, and including this Friday, 2 p.m. prior to ULM on Saturday at 3 o'clock. The Wizard of Oz coming to the Ford Center October 21st. The Oxford Art Crawl, another edition of that, is October 23rd. And you got the Nutcracker November 30th. You got the Holiday Market coming again, starting November 30th, and much more. We'll continue to tell you about that as time goes on, including Thacker Mountain Radio broadcast in front of live audiences Thursdays. That's tonight at 6 p.m. in front of Off Square Books. Again, visit oxfordms.com/events.
Podcast also brought to you in part by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you've been thinking about that golf trip with the guys you'll never forget, or maybe that anniversary trip she'll never forget, whether you've dreamed of playing St. Andrews or sitting at a cafe in Paris, talk to John Edwards before you try to do it yourself. Why use John? Well, he's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. John traveled the globe for 37 years before getting into the travel business, so he knows the extra attention needed to make a special trip one that creates a lifetime of unique memories. So if you're thinking about going with the boys to Pebble Beach or taking her to Napa for the vacation of her dreams, call John, give him some parameters and a budget, and let him give you some options. And know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. Call John at 901-494-3387 or send him an email at jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast. Now back to Jeffrey Wright. If you think about what he's saying, it is me saying, let's say I say to Chase, all right, look, I need you to go get that account at Business X. I need you to go get that. And so Chase goes out into the sales world. No, we're not talking about Rebel Grove. I'm a sales director, and he's one of my salespeople. I need you to go get that account. And so he goes out and he discovers that company Y, who is competing against us for account X, is offering the following incentives. Well, if he comes back and says, well, I'll tell you what, if you'll sell your widgets and gadgets through us, I'll give you a free membership at Country Club D, who's also a client of ours. And I'll give you a dinner for two once a week at Steakhouse C. That's also a client of ours. That's it. And,
yes.
And so some people go, well, that's not ethical. You're trading goods and bartering goods. This guy is basically saying, look, my job was to get this player to wear Adidas.
Yes.
And if I let him go to Kentucky, which wears Nike, we're never getting that sumbitch back. And if he ends up being the player that we think he's going to be, well, then we're screwed. And understand that they're also working in a pool, because not every five-star elite superstar high school player becomes the next Kevin Durant or James Harden or I don't whatever.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Huh? Jerry Jackson Jr. Right, never becomes an NBA lottery pick. Not everybody becomes a lottery pick. But if you get enough of them wearing your shoes, somebody will.
Yes, you are fishing in a very big pond.
You fish in a big pond, and the bigger fish get a little more money, and the smaller fish, the Lamar Peters of the world, they get $2,500 a month. And that's how it works. And if you don't do that, well, Under Armour might come in and get them to go to an Under Armour school, or Nike might come in and get them to go to Oregon. That's how pardon my language, everyone. That's how this shit works. For these people out in message board land, and I know it's a 60-something-year-old man with a pot belly and hadn't gotten laid in 3 years. I know it's that dude. I get it. But holy hell, man, grow up. You want me to apologize for the truth? Are you really prepared to say that you believe Malik Newman's recruiting came down to who would give the best scholarship? Are you insane? Did you watch the little deal with Courtney Cronin and all the crap and all the drama and the dad hanging on for dear life? Give me a break, man. Why do you think he left Mississippi State after year one? Do you really think it was about playing time? Or do you think it was because, and I'm just guessing here, he wasn't quite as good at State as they thought he was going to be, and some of the people who were on the hook said, I'm out. We're not getting the results from our investment. I'm out. And Adidas said, screw you. We're bringing you to another high-profile Adidas program that has a reputation for developing players. We'll bring him there just in case. Shut up.
Yeah, the thing that's funny to me is the difference between, like, for instance, when Shea Patterson left Ole Miss, everyone turned on Shea. And I get it. There was lots of drama around Shea. But when Malik turned on State, it's unbelievable to me that there wasn't the backlash against him, because let's be real, Horatio caused quite a lot of drama for Ben Howland in that program.
Oh God.
Why do you think that is? Why what is the difference? Because to me that's virtually the exact same thing.
Has leverage. Has the ability. All of these kids have when they say they want to leave and the schools go, okay, see ya. It's because they have the ability to bring you to your knees.
Right, but here's my question: Why do you think Ole Miss people turned on Shea? Like, there were still some State people out there that kind of rooted for Malik last year, which is weird. There's not an Ole Miss person. And by the way, I'm not commenting on the morality or the ethics.
Yeah, no, I'll answer your question. It's twofold. One, it's basically because his dad's an ass, and two, it's because
try to take kids with him.
His dad tried to recruit other kids. His dad was so bitter at Ole Miss and bitter at Longo and bitter at the whole situation and bitter at some of the things that got said and the fact that it wasn't the program that they signed up for, that he wanted to get other kids to go with him on the way out. And had he just left, it would have been one thing, but trying to get other kids to go with him made it another thing. And then people got their panties in a wad and they got their feelings hurt. You know how it is, man, when people get their feelings in something.
And I guess it's also, it appeared that he was working in conjunction with Thomas Mars.
Well, and he was working in conjunction with Mars. Yeah. And that's the part that I always laugh at when everybody gets worked up. He was trying to get his kid eligible to play this year. It's the one thing that with all of these kids, I don't blame any of them for going to Mars. The goal was to get eligible to play right away. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to threaten legal action.
Yes, it's the same reason why that kid that went to Arizona was throwing mud against A&M.
Yeah, it's to get out. I mean, I've been very critical of Sean Patterson Sr. I've made fun of him. I've criticized him. Of all those things. I do not, in any shape, form, or fashion, blame him whatsoever for employing Tom Mars as his attorney. The goal was to get Shea on a playing field this fall. It worked. I don't. That part, when Ole Miss people get worked up about that, I'm like, you're in your feelings now. You're in your ego now.
Correct.
The rest of it, I get. That part, nah. That's just him. That's just him. Now, if you want to make fun of him for being a helicopter dad, you want to make fun of him for tying his family's financial future and such to his son's athletic prowess, I'm all in. But
yes, for moving a kid 11 times before he was 18. Yeah,
I mean, I'm in. But if in this case, being a dad and protecting your kid's best interest, I don't blame him for that one.
I guess this is my larger question. All of this is, and I don't know. I guess maybe how the actual trial goes could have some impact. But do you think this has any impact? Because I will give Dan Wetzel credit for being an excessive blowhard. He asked a pretty good question yesterday. Where's Mark Emmert?
Oh, it's the question I'm going to ask Gary Parrish later this morning. Is twofold. Where's Mark Emmert? And two, is the NCAA going to do anything? Because it's right here. It's public record. And hey, before anybody goes, well, you can't find the money. They couldn't find the Leo Lewis money. They couldn't find a lot of the money, and they hammered programs. They're doing Baylor right now based off some allegations.
They never even sent them an inquiry or an investigation. They just sent the notice of allegation.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, you guys are really mad about Michigan State, and you're really mad about Ohio State, and so what we're going to do is we're going to hit Baylor. It's a really bad look. And so you have this stuff in court yesterday where they named basically Mississippi State, Alabama, Louisville, Kansas, Oregon. Who am I missing? I mean, it's like Maryland. It's like 30 schools. NC State. I mean, hey, it's boys and girls. The allegations are right there. Specific dollar figures. Are you going to launch investigations into these programs? Are you going to spend the next 5 or 6 years? I hate sounding like the Ole Miss fan because I get tired of the Ole Miss fan going, well, they didn't sleep on a couch, did they? Because I'm like, that's nice. That allegation
that is not why you were on probation.
Yeah.
Like you're doing what the president does so well. What about this? What about you're what about guy?
That one I always just kind of roll my eyes and just walk away. But when the Ole Miss guy goes, well, here's an allegation. It's specific. It includes dollar figures. It's on the record. Where's the investigation?
And the NCAA is going to stay on a high horse and go, no, the school's the one that's being frauded here, guys. They're the one that's getting punished.
Yeah, but Chase, I know you're right, but I don't.
But I am right.
But
that's
intellectually,
exactly.
I don't know how anybody accepts that.
They don't care.
Who is they?
The NCAA. No, they don't give a crap if you accept it or not.
They don't. Well, first off, they don't want this system to get shook up because this is how they make their money. They make their money by not having to redistribute what they have. Like, could you imagine if they had to take the money that they're earning and actually give it to the people that earned it?
Oh no, it would. It's
how the system crumbles.
Yes. Oh, I pray for the system to crumble. I want it to crumble. It needs to crumble. Because what you see in this deal is this is how people always go, how's it work? Well, here you go. I think this is great. I hope the guy gets acquitted. I really do. And he might be the scum of the earth. But he's telling the truth right now. And I don't.
Yes.
How is Lamar Peters a victim? He's getting $2,500 a month to wear shoes to play basketball. Who's the victim there, Chase? Is Mississippi State a victim because they got a kid that they might not have otherwise gotten because of their Adidas contract?
Well, they hired their coach for this reason.
Yes, they hired an Adidas guy to coach Adidas kids. So who's the victim?
Oh, no, let's see. Okay, here we go. North Carolina, Arizona, Maryland, Oregon, Kansas, NC State.
Alabama
was named. Was that yesterday?
Yeah, because they talked about Colin Sexton, who of course got paid. But people go, well, is it an NCAA violation? Now this is where you have to launch the investigation. Colin Sexton is a Nike kid. He went to a Nike school. So there's no debate whether Colin Sexton got paid to go to Alabama. He did. The question becomes, did representatives of Alabama's athletics interest know it? Did they know? And if you're the NCAA, you should investigate.
I disagree. I don't think the question is, did they know? I think the question was, should they have known? Because you can do I don't want to know.
No, you're right. It's a twofold question. Did you know, and should you, by what you saw, have known?
Correct.
It's fair.
Like, oh, man, Colin Sexton just showing up here. Huh? Look at that. Would you look at that?
Well, not only that, did he show up? Were there signs that he was spending money that his family didn't have? Were there signs that he was living above his means? Were there? I mean, yeah. And listen, before anybody goes, McCready says Alabama cheated. No, I mean maybe there was not. Maybe they hit it.
James Gatto did though.
I mean, no, Gatto didn't. Gatto said that Nike outbid.
Correct.
That's what Gatto said. And so my point is not, I'm not sitting here, I know this is confusing hind leg because this is like a different level of intelligence than you have when you're drinking your Milwaukee's Beast that you bought there at the Walmart down in Pontotoc or something. I get that this is complicated.
Pontotoc more of an Ole Miss town. Let's go more like West Point.
Yeah, I know this is complicated and this is highbrow, so go slow, and just tell your mama to leave you alone for a minute down there in the basement and give this some thought. I'm not saying Mississippi State cheated. Not at all. In fact, there's no proof in just what was said in court yesterday that State cheated. I am saying that if you're going to follow the NCAA precedent that they set in the Ole Miss case, that it's worth investigating. Because what we know is, according to what was said under oath in a court of law, is that Adidas paid Peters, was it $2,500 a month?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
$2,500 a month to wear their shoes. And to wear those shoes sent him to an Adidas school. And so it's worth investigating, according to what I saw in the Ole Miss investigation. It's worth investigating. Did Mississippi State arrange it? Did they know about it? And should they have known about it? And if the answer to all three of those questions are no, after an investigation, okay.
I know you got
I mean, that's kind of the other, like, that's the flip side of it. It's like, and in fairness, now if you want to say that when the Ole Miss people say that the verdict was rendered before they even got the trial, I'm a little more open to that, because it certainly appeared, based on everything that I watched, read, involved in that entire case, said that they had determined that whatever Leo Lewis said was the truth beforehand, and by God, whatever it was, even when there were holes poked in his story, didn't matter. So, I mean, that's kind of the same thing. Are they going to have the verdict decided that what's said in the court of law is the truth?
It's fascinating. Last thing, Jeffrey, who you like in the 4 baseball series moving forward?
The season's over.
Yeah.
Houston, right? You got to go.
Yeah.
If I'm Boston, I'm a little nervous.
Oh, sure.
I'm Boston, I'm a little nervous, but they're the better team.
So Astros, Red Sox on that side.
I think the Brewers right now are the better team.
Yeah.
And
we're headed to Dodgers,
right?
Astros. That's where we're headed.
I mean, ever since the Dodgers got healthy, they've been better. Like, they've been kind of what they were put together to be since they've gotten healthy the last.
Yeah, no, they're the favored. I mean, I would think the Brewers give them the most trouble, but we'll see. Who's on today?
Today we got Steve White talking NFL. Chris Harrington, the NBA is firing back up. And then who knows what else we got today.
All right. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks to Jeffrey for joining us as always. The podcast is also brought to you by Oxford Wine and Spirits, located on College Hill Road next to Lost Pizza. 5% below industry standards for pricing, and they'll help you out a little bit if you spend $150 or more and mention the podcast, 5% off wine, 10% off liquor there at Oxford Wine and Spirits. Remember, with the game coming up this weekend, stock up and save money in the process. Got some allocated stuff, got some new bourbons on the shelves, and more there next to Lost Pizza, College Hill Road. That's Oxford Wine and Spirits.
Podcast also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're looking for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. It's just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. Grenada Nissan has a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. If they don't have it, they'll get it. You got to ask about their lease deals. If you're driving a limited number of miles, worth exploring. They're great people to deal with, great service after the sale. I've dealt with Grenada Nissan for more than 10 years now, and nothing but fantastic experiences. They're terrific. You'll enjoy them too. So if you're in the market for a Nissan, that's the place to go. GrenadaNissanUSA.com. Podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX legacy realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. HarryAlexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you are looking for. The results that you see are updated daily, and you can bet that's what's on the market. And then you need somebody like Harry who understands the market and can get you a deal that you'll be happy with now and 10 years from now. Go send him an email at ha@harryalexander.com.
Let's jump back into the phone lines now. We're going to talk to Gary Parrish again, CBS Sports, Memphis radio host as well, to continue our college basketball talk here on the Oxford Exxon podcast.
All right, Gary, I was reading your column. I guess it was, I lose track of days as the week goes on. I guess it was late Tuesday, and I thought, man, this is a more fascinating court case than a lot of us think, and not just because of what's going to happen in the court case, but because tell me whether you agree with this, I think it kind of puts the NCAA in a funny spot because it doesn't want to do anything. It would prefer not to do anything, yet here is this system that has been used for years that's being sort of exposed right here on the record under oath in a court of law that says this is how the sausage is made, and the way the sausage is made absolutely, without question, violates NCAA rules left and right, whether it violates rules that are above the NCAA. As you said, a judge and a jury will determine that, but there's no question that NCAA rules are violated. And I don't know that the NCAA is going to do anything at all. How do you, as someone who knows college basketball perhaps as well as anyone, if not better than anyone, how do you sort of think the NCAA is going to handle that juxtaposition?
I think they'll have to react at some point, but it will not be until all of this FBI stuff is done. In fact, the federal government has requested or I guess advised the NCAA to just stand down until we're done, and then you do whatever it is you want to do. But it is interesting that within the past few months, the NCAA has changed its bylaws to put them in a position where it used to be it didn't matter what came out in a court of law as it relates to any sort of case the NCAA might handle. The NCAA had to prove it themselves, had to do the case themselves, had to do the investigation themselves. That's no longer the case. The NCAA does have the right, if you will, to use a government investigation as an investigation into a basketball program, football program, soccer program, anything, and then punish them however they see fit. So I do think that there will be an NCAA price to pay for several programs that are caught up in this, but I also think it's years off. What's fascinating about this case, though, is that typically when you're charged with a crime, if you choose to go to trial, your goal is to create a reasonable doubt that you actually committed the crime. In other words, if you're charged with robbing a bank, you want to try to create reasonable doubt that you robbed a bank. If you're charged with murder, you want to create reasonable doubt, if you go to trial, that you committed the murder. That's not what's happening here. These men are charged with fraud, Christian Dawkins, Jim Gatto, and Merle Code. And in the opening statements, they basically said, yes, we did everything you said we did, and more. We did. Yes, we paid this family this amount of money. Yes, we paid this family this amount of money. Yes, we agreed to pay this family this amount of money. We do not deny that we did literally everything you are saying that we did. The only thing we're denying is that it's breaking a law. We broke NCAA rules, but NCAA rules are not laws. We did not break a law. And that is something that smart legal people have said right from the jump, like, yo, this is really, really flimsy, really thin. The idea that what they were doing was actually breaking the law, because the way the government has made that argument is to say that the universities involved here were defrauded by Jim Gatto, Merle Coe, Christian Dawkins, so on and so forth. In other words, the government's argument is when Jim Gatto agrees to give $100,000 to Brian Bowen's family to get Brian Bowen to enroll in Louisville, Jim Gatto is defrauding Louisville because he is compromising a student athlete who is then going to enroll at Louisville and could theoretically get Louisville in big NCAA problems. He's giving them damaged goods. He is defrauding the University of Louisville. Well, in the real world, we both know that's just not true.
Right.
What Jim Gatto is actually doing is helping Louisville at, you ready? Louisville's request. And so that's the argument. There is no victim here. We didn't defraud anybody. We didn't defraud Louisville. We helped Louisville. We didn't defraud Kansas. We helped Kansas. And I think it's a defense that is likely to resonate with a jury, because the other thing people need to realize is that the jury, you and I aren't on it. It is largely people who know nothing about how college athletics works. And when you take somebody who doesn't live in this world and explain to them, the coaches make $7 million a year, the universities make tens of millions of dollars a year, the NCAA makes billions of dollars, the student athletes get nothing. And so here's a situation where the student athletes and their families are actually hustling to get something, and everybody's happy. Like, that's the thing, the defense's argument. There is no victim here. We at Adidas wanted elite prospects to go to Adidas schools. The Adidas schools wanted us to help them get elite prospects, and the families of the players involved had their hands out and were happy and willing participants. Who's the victim? Everybody got exactly what they wanted. And so I think it's really interesting to watch, because I do believe that that's a reasonable defense. I think it can resonate with a jury. And then, I think the most likely scenario here is that the defendants actually are found not guilty, but the collateral damage done to college basketball and programs around the country is what creates the big headlines. In other words, these guys, while they're trying to do two things. They're trying to prove that cheating is rampant. In other words, we didn't give $100,000 to Brian Bowen's family to go to Louisville because we just wanted to. That's what we had to do to level the playing field. Because if we didn't do it, Nike was going to pay him an astronomical number to go to Oregon. So they're creating this perception, and it's a realistic perception, that, hey, everybody's doing this. We paid Silvio De Sousa $20,000 not because we wanted to, but because Under Armour had already paid $20,000. We were just trying to make it a level playing field. Everybody does this. They're creating that perception. Everybody does this, and everybody does this willingly. There are no victims. And in the process of doing that, what you do is drag Kansas in, drag Oregon in, drag Arizona in, and the men who coach those programs are going to have to answer for what these for the allegations that are going to come out throughout this trial, because we don't yet know. Okay, they've acknowledged in court Oregon offer, but we don't know who it was. Was it Dana Altman? Was it really Nike? Was it a booster? Was it an assistant coach? But if we have wiretaps and videos of coaches, even if they didn't get a deal done, agreeing to get a deal done. In other words, if we hear Sean Miller on a wiretap in any of these cases say, hey, listen, we can get a deal done, $150,000 for Nasir Little, then I don't think Sean Miller can survive that. And so the real story here isn't whether Jim Gatto, Merle Coe, Christian Dawkins gets 2 years in prison or not. Who cares outside of their families? The real story here is what is in these trials for those men, what is the collateral damage going to be for college basketball programs throughout this country? And literally every day, something else is coming out. And when Brian Bowen's father takes the stand under oath, granted immunity from prosecution, there's no telling what he's going to be able to say.
No, you're exactly right. And I agree with you completely. I mean, obviously, you and I would be excused from this jury. We know too much. But if we were on this jury, we're voting to acquit. I mean, because there is no victim. The $20,000 for D'Souza is because that's what the market dictates. I mean, that's why it's $20,000. That's why another kid gets $100,000 or another kid gets $150,000. It's whatever the market dictates. If a station in New York comes and they want to hire Gary Parrish and they offer Gary Parrish X amount of dollars, and 92.9 ESPN says, no, we want to keep Gary Parrish. Well, there's a way to do that, and here's what it is, and here's the price, and it might not be the exact same number, but that offer does dictate a new number. So that's just the way life works. I'm with you completely. And I agree with you about what you're saying about wiretaps and all of these things, yet I can't help but do this because I cover Ole Miss in my day job, and we've covered this 6-year NCAA investigation. Some of it's legitimate, some of it's a little fishy, some of it is very flimsy from a evidence standpoint. Yet the NCAA came down pretty hard, and frankly, Gary, they have less on Ole Miss than what they're going to have on some of these programs that you just talked about. Not all, but some. And yet I don't get a sense that the NCAA really wants to go into this, and I certainly don't think the NCAA wants to change its model. If anything, the NCAA has doubled down on its amateurism model. I think this case, when it's over, and it will eventually end, is going to really put the NCAA in a very precarious predicament that I don't know that it knows how to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is the NCAA is a big business, and they don't want to punish their biggest brands. Let's just say Arizona does get caught up in this in an undeniable way. I mean, they're already caught up in it, but they've said, hey, it was just a rogue assistant, and hey, we haven't been able to prove anything, and nothing's been proven yet. But let's say once this is all over, there's just undeniable evidence. Arizona was out there rocking and rolling, buying players nonstop. The NCAA doesn't want Arizona not in the NCAA tournament, like on a postseason ban. And the reason is simple. The NCAA tournament, don't think of it as a 3-week event to crown a champion. It's a television show. You don't want like CBS and Turner. I've talked about this for years. College basketball fans love the Loyola Chicago story. CBS doesn't. CBS wants Kentucky and Indiana and Ohio State and schools like that in the Final Four every year. They don't want George Mason or VCU. And so when you start having to punish your biggest brands, it damages the television product because people like you and I, we love great stories. But, most people who are going to turn on the TV to watch a basketball game, the big brands are what gets numbers. It's why even last year under Archie Miller's first season at Indiana, when Indiana was not good, they were on television all the time because it's Indiana. It sounds big, even if the team's not good. I made this point in a column a few weeks ago. Like, Nevada is playing Loyola Chicago this November, I guess, maybe December, but it's in the non-league. That's a preseason top 10 team against a team coming off a Final Four. It's on ESPN News. Nobody cares. It's a great non-league game. If you took any other preseason top 10 team and any other team that was in the Final Four last season and scheduled a game between them in November, it would be on CBS or Fox or Big ESPN or something. But when it's Nevada and Loyola Chicago, ESPN News, because they're not brands. And so you're exactly right. The NCAA is going to be in a tough spot because they don't want to punish the programs that are, going appear to be caught up in this. Kansas, Arizona, Oregon, who knows where else this is going. Louisville still has punishment on the way, I would assume. But I think they're going to be forced to punish in some way because Now, this is all coming out in open court. This isn't some behind-the-scenes investigation. This isn't some Yahoo Sports report. This is like in a federal court building in Lower Manhattan that's being reported on every single day. They can punt it down the road a good ways because the government has asked them to. Wait till we're done. But eventually they're going to have to deal with this, and you're right, they don't want to deal with this.
Last thing in this fascinating stuff, really appreciate your time. You've been covering this for a long time. I've watched this for a long time. This is how the sausage has always kind of been made.
Sure.
There might be new chefs that come into the kitchen. Every once in a while they might change the ingredients, but for the most part, this is the recipe. When this is all over, Adidas isn't going out of business. Nike isn't going out of business. Under Armour isn't going out of business. Other Converse or Puma or whoever else is going to want to get into business. You want the best players wearing your shoes. You'd like to have them wear your shoes in college so that when they go to the NBA, they're wearing your shoes. You want kids to wear shoes because Superstar X has worn those shoes since college. That's how this works. Is there anything at all in this to indicate that once this is over, or even as it's ongoing, that the system is going to change at all? I mean, everything that's being described in that courthouse in Lower Manhattan is still happening today, right?
To some degree, sure. I think that people are more careful, and the folks who are on the fence about whether to get involved in this or that are now like choosing not to. But the guys who are going to break the rules are going to break the rules. You know, it's a little bit like, I don't know, perhaps it's a poor analogy, but like you have too much to drink one night, you wake up the next day, you're sick, you feel like hell, and you say, oh God, I'm never drinking again. And then a few weeks pass and you're like, I want to have another drink. Like, this is what's going to happen. Like, the FBI arrests people, folks get scared, and they go, well, hey, okay, whatever we were doing before, we can't do anymore. But then time passes and, literally millions of dollars are at stake. I mean, that's the point I've always made. The reward for cheating has forever outweighed the risk because, if you get a top 10 recruiting class, it buys you a contract extension. And if you are a Power 5 coach, basically every Power 5 coach now makes at least $2 million a year. It's $2 million. You cheat, you get $2 million. And you're probably not going to get caught because most people don't get caught. It's the same reason people have a few drinks at a bar and then drive home, even though they know they're not supposed to do it, because you're probably not going to get caught. If you do, there's a price to pay. But the odds, I would bet 99% of people who drive drunk do not get caught. Like, if you get caught, you're in big trouble. But most people don't get caught. And so you weigh the risk against the reward, and people make that decision every single day. So I think the way things get done will be changed up a little bit. I think people will be more careful about what they're doing and who they're dealing with. But as long as these prospects are worth so much money to so many people, to coaches who can use them to get contract extensions, to universities who can use them to sell season tickets, to shoe companies who can use them to sell shoes and help universities that they have business relationships with, to agents who want to represent them someday, to financial advisors who want to handle their money someday. Like, these student athletes are worth literally millions of dollars in some cases to all sorts of different people. And as long as that's the case and the NCAA insists on having a tight grip on the concept of amateurism, this is always going to – there's always going to be a buyer and there's always going to be a seller. And it's always been that way. That's why – for as long as I've been talking about this stuff, somebody will say, well, how do you clean up college basketball? How do you clean up college basketball? Change the rules. You eliminate amateurism.
Absolutely.
That's the only way to do it.
That's the way.
How do we stop people from going to jail for marijuana possession? Make marijuana possession legal. That's the only way. People ain't going to stop smoking. They've been doing it for decades. So like, you cannot clean up college basketball. You can just flip it and make the stuff that's illegal today legal tomorrow. And that is another thing that's going to be made crystal clear in this case, that this stuff has been going on forever, that it goes on routinely, and and everybody is a willing participant. That's why the defense, again, is arguing we committed NCAA violations. I mean, like, within 5 minutes of the opening statement, that was the message. We did this. Everything you said we did, we did. We just don't think it's we broke a law. We broke an NCAA rule. It's a little bit, think of it like this. In my neighborhood, like, we have a neighborhood association and all that stuff, and like we got all these like crazy rules. I don't know if they're crazy, but the rules. For instance, our garbage cans and recycle bins can never be visible from the street. Put them in your backyard, put them in your garage, but they cannot be visible from the street. Now, if I leave my garbage can in my driveway tomorrow, and I just say I'm going to let it sit there for a week, I will be in violation of my neighborhood association. I'll probably get a letter on my door. I might get a fine, but I'm not going to get arrested. I broke a rule in my neighborhood association.
But not a
I
law.
didn't commit a crime. There's no crime about leaving a garbage can out. This is the exact same thing from the defense's perspective. We broke an NCAA rule. The NCAA says we can't do what we did, and we did it anyway. We accept whatever punishment they want to apply to us. But we didn't break a law. We broke a rule. We didn't break a law. And if we didn't break a law, then you can't find us guilty of something. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But the fact that these three men, at the very least, have decided to go to trial is evidence that they feel very comfortable about their chances to beat this. Because the truth is, when you are charged with a federal crime, the conviction rate is like above 90%. And the reason is because once the government's got you, they got you. And so most people don't even go to trial. It's like pointless. But when you do go to trial, the rare instances that people do go to trial, it's about a coin flip situation, because you only go to trial if you think you can beat it. And that's the biggest difference between this federal case and most federal cases. The federal government got them. Like, they got them caught red-handed, documents, paper trails, everything, doing exactly what they said they did. But the defense is saying, oh, yeah, you got us. You caught us. Congratulations. We paid Brian Bowen's family $100,000. We paid Sylvia D'Souza for $20,000. We paid Dennis Smith $40,000. We did exactly what you said we did. We just don't believe it's a crime. So good luck trying to convict us of it. And I think that's a pretty good defense that if I were betting, I would bet it's going to work.
Well, Gary, thanks so much for the time. Really enjoyed it. Great stuff. Look forward to talking to you again soon, probably next week on your show. So have a great weekend.
I'll be there. Thanks, man. I'll see you.
Running into a lot of people on the website all of a sudden that say they have seen none of the Rocky movies. None.
I just wonder what people are doing with their lives. What's happened to this
You would think over the
generation?
course of the years, you stumble across it on TNT. They're having a marathon. I mean, there's Oscar value here. I mean,
I've live tweeted Rocky IV on numerous occasions.
Numerous?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is maybe the number one movie where Twitter goes, hey, just FYI, everybody,
It's
TNT,
on.
2 o'clock. Like, here we are. It's at this point of it.
I'm surprised at the number of people who defend Adrian. She's horrible.
Yeah, our bud got a little upset yesterday.
Yeah, he was worked up about it. You know, I
said Adrian was really just trying to protect Rocky throughout the series.
Oh, God. She's just such a whiner. Your husband's out fighting Clubber Lang and Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago for you.
Started, he can't win.
And she has lived with this man who defeated the great Apollo Creed. He defeated Apollo Creed and almost messed it up because he sat and waited for her to recover from her deathbed before he'd go train. Not selfish.
Does it bug you that in Rocky IV, at one point, Polly is upset because they can't watch the Rose Bowl, but the fight's on Christmas Day? They're fully back in the United States by January 1st.
But Polly might have been drunk.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Paulie drank a lot.
Paulie was a drunk.
Yeah. So it's conceivable that what he meant was, I'm really pissed off that I can't watch.
Or did they stay in Russia for 8 years, and that's what allowed the kid to grow so much older when they finally came home?
He might have trained for years over there. Or what he meant to say was, I'm pissed I can't watch the GoDaddy.com Bowl.
We might have missed Rocky 4.5, where he actually did stay in Moscow and fix the entire Cold War before he came home. So it was several years later.
It's conceivable.
When he comes back on the plane and the Don King lookalikes there at the start of Rocky 5, and here we go. What was it? George Washington something?
It's conceivable.
What was that guy's name?
I can't remember.
Wasn't it George Washington
something? It's funny, when they introduced that character, I was still thinking the movie was going to be a total joke, and so I just giggled at it. And then it got real.
I think the guy even said, only in America all the time, too. It was a complete Don King ripoff, right?
Yeah.
George Washington Duke.
It was sweet, and it gives you a glimpse into their marriage when, even after Adrian had been dead for a while, and the other woman was clearly hitting on Rocky, come on,
yeah.
I'm lonely, you're lonely. Why not? And Rocky's like, no, I got to go hang out at the cemetery. I mean, that does tell you that he really felt it. Took the chair out there and read her the paper.
Yeah, I did make the argument yesterday that Rocky 5 was a very important part of the canon because it's where he lost his money.
What? What was an important part of the canon?
The Rocky V, the V version of the film.
I don't know what you're talking about. See, this is what frustrates me, is that we do this entire podcast where you're giving a lot of stuff, and then you do something like this, and it makes people go, Parham has no credibility. He thinks there was a Rocky 5. There wasn't a Rocky 5.
Well, it's I got on Twitter the other day, someone was like, hey, by the way, that's the one with so-and-so. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm aware.
The GIF where it's like, woo, over there.
Yeah, I was like, I know there's Rocky 5. I've actually seen it 27 times, but
I've never seen it.
Saban bitching about his student section yesterday.
Oh, God, help us all.
There are fans that would show up and stay. If y'all can't do it, we'll kick you all out.
Well, that's probably true.
The guy from Gordo would be happy to come over and stay for the full quarters.
Hell yeah.
He'd be all about it.
Mama, Coach Saban said we can go ball game. We can sit in the stadium. We won't leave early, I'll tell you that, Mama.
No, in all seriousness, if they said, okay, that's it, because you never know Saban, he's nuts. If they said no students this week, line up in line, and you can get these seats for free when you walk in. How early would people from Gordo and Demopolis be in there to line up?
When would the announcement be made?
Let's say Tuesday at 9 a.m.
They'd be there by Tuesday at 10 a.m.
No hyperbole. Would people stay in line 24 hours?
Chase, I'm not sure which part of the math you missed on. I mean, I don't know what they're doing at Hatley with math.
But Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Multiply 24 times however many days that is, 4 days. I don't know. It's more than 24 hours. It's 100 and something hours. Yes, they would wait in line.
You really think so?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I love you, but yes.
Fair enough.
They'd be there by 10 a.m. Tuesday.
You watching any baseball tonight?
No, the season's over. The all MLB team has been released.
It's amazing. Neil's got all this Bears gear on today. I mean, it's just
this is thunder.
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Carson did get Bear stuff for his birthday. Today's Carson's birthday.
That's
Happy
right.
birthday, Carson.
12?
He's 12.
That's right.
Got his Trubisky jersey.
Oh, he did get it?
It's not here yet, but it's been ordered.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
he picked out his Bears cap.
He's all in.
He kind of likes him. He likes Khalil Mack, and he likes Mitch Trubisky. And I think it's fun for him to pick a team. All Major League Baseball teams out. Christian Yelich, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts in the outfield. Jose's a good outfield. Left side of the infield is all Indians. Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, Javier Baez of the Cubs at second base, Freddie Freeman of the Braves at first base, soon-to-be Brave JT Realmuto currently of the Marlins is the catcher. The Cardinals' Matt Carpenter is the utility man. J.D. Martinez of the Red Sox is the DH. And the starting pitchers, this would be a pretty good rotation. Jacob deGrom of the Mets, Max Scherzer of the Nationals, Justin Verlander of the Astros, Blake Snell of the Rays, and former LSU star, current Philadelphia Philly, Aaron Nola rounding out that rotation.
That team would probably win.
I would like their chances to win, yes.
We could just send that team to play somebody else's team. I like that team. So
I'm looking for relief pitchers, but it's not really letting me view it.
Okay. We're going to do a Fire Away Friday tomorrow, so we'll post some questions later on in the day. We'll do Neil's picks as well, so we'll swap it up a little bit. We'll have that at it. Neil, go ahead.
This podcast has been brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with the personal touch. OUB offers its customers the absolute best cash checking account. It's called Kasasa, and with Kasasa, OUB will pay customers 2.5% interest on their balances up to $50,000 and refund ATM fees nationwide. OUB also offers online bill pay, mobile check deposit using its online app. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. And we're brought to you by Megan Phillips with LAH Real Estate. She's the person to call for all your real estate needs in the Birmingham, Alabama area. With almost a decade of experience, Megan's knowledge and expertise can help you buy or sell your home today. So visit our website, meganmphillips.com, or call Megan at 205-602-7929. Again, 205-602-7929.
Be back tomorrow with all that. RebelGrove.com. In the meantime, talk to you then.